So, good day mga kapwa ko working law students, no? So, yung last upload natin is yung part 2 ng basic taxation law. So, lahat na ito is part pa rin ng coverage no, ng ating exams, no? Especially sa prelim exams ng basic taxation law. So, this time, uh, yung part 3 will start with the comparison no, with other powers. Pero bago yan, huwag niyo pong kalimutan na mag-subscribe kayo dito sa ating YouTube channel. Paki-like ng notification bell para na rin updated kayo sa ating mga bagong uploads dito sa ating channel. Meron din tayong Facebook page, Working Law Student PH. Sana you follow also that page. Kasi lahat ng mga nandito, ina-upload ko din doon sa Facebook page. So, kunting paalala lamang or disclaimer, this video is made by the uploader as his way of studying the subject. I am not yet a lawyer nor an expert in this field. I am just expressing my idea and how I understood the subject of basic taxation law. Okay, so sabi ko na kanina, yung start ng discussion natin on part 3 ng basic taxation law is all about comparison with other powers. So, ano-ano nga yung powers ng state? You have the police power, you have also the power of eminent domain. At yung pangatlo is yung taxation. So, police power. How do we define police power? So, in the case of MMDA versus Garin in 2005, police power is the power to make, ordain, and establish all manner of wholesome and reasonable laws, statutes, and ordinances, whether with penalties or without, not repugnant to the Constitution, the good and welfare of the Commonwealth, and for the subjects of the same. So it is the power of the state to promote public welfare by restraining or by regulating the use of liberty or property. So it has also been defined as the plenary power. Ito yung plenary power vested in the legislature to make statutes and ordinances to promote the health, morals, peace, education, good order, or safety and general welfare of the people. Ito naman yung sinabi doon sa case ng Ferrer versus Bautista in 2015. So, how do we explain police power? So, police power, it is the most pervasive, the less limitable, and it is the most demanding of the three fundamental powers of the state. The justification is found in the Latin maxim, salus populi est suprema lex, or the welfare of the people is the supreme law, and sic utere tuuut alinam non laedas. So, use your property as not to injure the property of others. So, as an inherent attribute of sovereignty, itong police power virtually extends to all public needs. Police power also grants a panoply of instruments through which the state, as parens patriae, gives effect to a host of its regulatory powers. The court has held that the power to regulate means the power to protect, foster, promote, preserve, and control with due regard for the interest, first and foremost, of the public, then of the utility and of its patrons, as in the case of Hirochi versus DOE, also on Southern Luzon Drug versus DSWD, that was decided in 2017. So, when we say property rights may of individuals may be subjected to restraints and burdens in order to fulfill the objectives of the government in the exercise of police power. The state, in the exercise of police power, can intervene in operations of a business which may result in impairment of property rights. So, tandaan natin yan. Now, ano yung relationship between taxation and police power? Kasi ito itong dalawa fundamental ng state. So, The relationship between taxation and police power in this jurisdiction, it is well entrenched that taxation may be made to implement state's police power. Yan yung nangyari doon sa Ferrer versus Bautista. Yung socialized housing tax na issue at saka yung sa garbage fee collection. Now, it is a well-established doctrine that the taxing power may be used as an implement of police power, as in the Hirochi versus DOA case. Lahat na yan ating pag-uusapan later on. The motivation behind many taxation measures is the implementation of police power goals. Progressive income taxes alleviate the margin between rich and poor. The so-called sin taxes on alcohol and tobacco manufacturers help dissuade the consumers from excessive intake of these potentially harmful products, as in the case of Southern Cross versus cement manufacturer, GR number 158540, 2005. Kaya nga 'di ba may mga police power, ay may mga taxation. Kasi nga part 'yun ng police power ng state para limitahan or regulate or totally ipagbawal, no? Kung hindi man lang kayang ipagbawal directly, this time they can do it indirectly. Yan ang mga sin taxes, di ba? Dati yung isang stick ng sigarilyo, 1 piso, 2 piso lang. Ngayon nasa 12 piso na. So nagmamahal siya. Yung presyo na lang ng sigarilyo nagmamahal, pero yung tao hindi nagmamahal sa iyo. So kaya iwasan mo na siya kasi hindi siya nagmamahal sa iyo. Now, in relation to the regulatory purpose of the imposed fee, the imposition questioned must relate to an occupation or activity that so engages the public interest, morals, safety, and development as to require regulation for the protection and promotion of such public interest. The imposition must also bear a reasonable relation to the probable expenses of regulation, taking into account not only the cost of direct regulation but also its incidental consequences as well. In the case of Chevron versus BCDA, that also will be discussed later. Okay, so yan yung mga relationship between taxation and police power. So, kung merong relationship yung taxation and police power, tignan natin yung similarities between police power and taxation. Kasi meron silang similarities din eh. Okay, so, number one, pareho sila inherent in the state and may be exercised even if there is no specific authority granted by the Constitution. Okay, remember? Itong police power and the power of taxation, inherent powers of the state, and pwede nila itong i-exercise, no? Even kahit na walang authority na nakalagay doon specifically sa ating constitution. Kaya sabi nga natin, di ba? They can implement kahit walang constitution. They can do it because it is the lifeblood of the state, no? And the lifeblood doctrine. Pangalawa, without these powers, the state could not attain the purpose for which it is established. Otherwise stated, the very existence of the state is dependent upon the exercise of these powers. Kaya nga, di ba, how can a state survive if wala siyang power of taxation? No? How can the state control chaos, no? Yung mga peace and order, kung wala din siyang police power? Okay? Pangatlo, the powers are to be exercised by the legislative department. Remember, di ba? Yung taxing authority, yung taxation, should emanate from the legislative department as well as the police power. Diba? Gumagawa ng batas yung ating legislative department for the executive department to be implemented. And last but not the least, pareho sila nag-interfere with ownership and use of private property. Diba? When the state exercises its police power, it interferes with ownership also. As well as the taxation, ba? Property mo na nga, but ina-tax pa ng government, di ba? So pareha sila nag-interfere with ownership and the use of private property. Now, ano yung mga criteria for distinguishing between a tax and an imposition under police power? Kasi maliit lang yung distinction din nila eh, no? Kung titignan natin, tax ba ito or police power ba itong ginagamit ng state dito? Now, the Supreme Court held that if the generating of revenue, okay, is the primary purpose and regulation is merely incidental, the imposition is a tax. Again, tingnan natin yun ha. We will look at it again. Pag yung primary purpose, yung main reason, bakit kinokolekta ng government is for generating funds, okay, yung revenue talaga, then it is a tax. Lalo na pag yung regulation is only incidental to it. But if the regulation is the primary purpose, yung purpose niya is to regulate, no? Para wag na talagang para lumiit yung mga gumagawa nito. So, the fact that incidentally a revenue is obtained. So, meron ding revenue na nakuha para bang, uy, may pera pala dito, no? But yung main purpose talaga is to regulate. Then, it does not make the imposition of a tax. Hindi yan magiging tax, no? That's not a tax. So, the purpose and the effect of the imposition determine whether it is a tax or a fee. And that the lack of any standards for such imposition, given the presumption that the same is a tax, as in the case of yung nangyari sa Smart Communications versus Municipality of Malvar in 2014. Now, the designation in the ordinance does not decide whether imposition is a license fee or a tax. The determining factors are the purpose and effect of the imposition, which, as may be apparent from the provisions of the ordinance. Yun yung nangyari sa Ferrer na also na case. Now, tignan natin yung taxation power at saka police power as to the purpose. As to the purpose, yung taxation power, primary purpose is for the revenue. Clear yan, di ba? Sabi natin, pag yung main reason kung bakit tayo naniningil is because we wanted to raise revenue, then it is tax. Power to levy taxes to be used for public purpose, panggawa ng daan, no? Pag construction of bridge, biglang gumuho yung bridge, hindi kasi siya steel bridge siya, no? Ninakaw yung pera, no? And then as to the police power naman, yung purpose niya is primary purpose is for general welfare or regulation. So, para sa kabutihan ng nakararami at i-regulate yung kung ano nating gustong singilan ng tax or pera, no? The power to enact legislation that may interfere with personal liberty or property in order to promote, again, general welfare. So, pag general welfare, yung purpose and to regulate, that is the police power. But if the purpose is to greater yung makakuha ng revenue, increase revenue, and then the purpose is for public purpose, then it is a taxation power. So, yan yung ginagamit nila, no? Na yung reason kung bakit malalaman natin. As the amount, taxation power, the amount of tax collected is usually unlimited. Yan. Unlimited yung mga value-added tax, no? Unlimited lang. At unlimited yan, then that's the taxation power. As to police power, the license fee should not exceed the cost of regulation. So, meron siyang ceiling, as in the case of mga fees. As to compensation, the taxation power, enjoyment of public services. Kasi yun yung purpose niya, di ba? Why naniningil tayo? Because it is for public purposes. Kaya, ibabalik natin siya through public services. Kaya nga, tinataas natin yung revenue generation natin kasi kailangan natin magkaroon ng public services. As to the police power, yung compensation na makukuha natin is that the feeling of having done something good for the society in general. Oh, nakaambag ako dyan. Kasi nagbayad ako dyan ng fees. So, nakaambag ako dyan. Now, as to the property taken, pag sinabi natin taxation power, it is generally money talaga. Kasi nagbabayad tayo ng tax, pera yung ginagamit natin, di ba? Now, pero sa pagdating naman sa police power, kahit anong property which may be the source of the danger to health, safety, or morals. So, kahit anong property, pwede as long as it poses a danger to health, safety, or morals. As to the effect to the property taken, sa taxation power, it is constructive for money collected is spent for building infrastructure or providing public services. So, binabalik pa rin, in the way of infrastructure and public services. As to the police power, it is destructive. Kung sa taxation is constructive, sa police power naman, it is destructive. For the property taken is usually destroyed. Sinisira nila yan. Kasi nga, hindi siya nakabubuti sa nakararami. Hindi siya for general purpose. Now, as to the impairment, as to the effect relation to non-impairment clause, taxation power is inferior to the non-impairment clause and could not override the same. Hindi kaya override yung impairment clause. While in the police power is superior to the non-impairment clause. As to scope, sa scope naman, taxation power, yung taxation interferes with property rights only. Hanggang sa property rights lang si taxation power. While si police power regulates both liberty and property. Kasama na dyan ang liberty. Yung the right to travel, na ganun. Okay, so, as to surrender, taxation power, it may be bargained away through a contract such that the government issues a tax-exempt bond, it could not withdraw the exemption because it would violate the non-impairment clause. Okay, so, tignan natin it may be bargained away through a contract such that if the government issues a tax-exempt bond, kung binigyan ka na ng tax-exempt bond ng government, hindi na yan pwedeng i-withdraw. No? The government could not withdraw the exemption because it would violate the non-impairment clause. While in the police power cannot be bargained away. So, kitang-kita yan na hindi pwedeng i-bargain yung police power natin. Pero yung taxation, pwedeng magbigay ng exemption. Now, punta tayo sa tanong na what is the nature of motor vehicle registration fees? Are they taxes or regulatory fees? Ito yung mga MBUC, no? Yung pag nag-renew ka ng iyong registration ng vehicle, meron siyang mga motor vehicle fees, no? So, ang tanong, are they taxes or regulatory fees? So, the answer to that, mababasa natin sa case ng Philippine Airlines versus Edu. Ito si Edu is commissioner to na si Commissioner Edu. So, GR number L-41383, decided in August 15, 1998. So, yung facts ng kaso nito, si Philippine Airlines, under its franchise, is exempt from payment of taxes. It was pointed out that Philippine Airlines has, since 1956, not been paying the motor vehicle registration fees. Now, in 1971, Commissioner Elevate issued a regulation requiring all tax-exempt entities, among them Philippine Airlines, to pay motor vehicle registration fees. Then, ito yung kailangan daw magbayad na sila ng motor vehicle registration fees. Registration was refused unless the amounts imposed under RA 4136, ito yung Republic Act 4136 or yung Land Transportation and Traffic Code, dapat mabayaran doon nila yung amount na nandun na ini-impose. Thus, si Philippine Airlines paid under protest the amount of 19,000 as registration fees for its motor vehicles. Now, Philippine Airlines wrote a letter to Land Transportation Commissioner Edu demanding a refund of the amounts paid, invoking the ruling in Calalang versus Lorenzo in 1951, where it was held that motor vehicle registration fees are in reality taxes, from the payment of which PAL is exempted by virtue of the legislative franchise. Now, Commissioner Edu denied the request for refund, citing Republic versus Philippine Rabbit Bus Lines to the effect that motor vehicle registration fees are regulatory fees and not revenue measures, and thus do not come within the exemption granted to Philippine Airlines. Now, the issue of this case is that are the registration fees in the nature of taxes by virtue of which PAL can demand a refund for it was exempt therefrom. Ano ba daw yan? Taxes ba daw yung kinukuha under registration fees? Now, the Supreme Court ruled that it is taxes. The court, citing numerous legislations, has stated that the legislative intent and purpose behind the law requiring owners of vehicles to pay the registration is mainly to raise funds for the construction and maintenance of highways, and to a much lesser degree, pay for the operating expenses of administering agencies. While in the Philippine Rabbit case, the term fees are favored or was favored by the legislature to distinguish fee from other taxes, fees may be properly regarded as taxes even though they also serve as instrument of regulation. Indeed, taxation may be made the implement of state's police power. If the purpose is primarily again for revenue, or if revenue is at least one of the real and substantial purposes, then the exaction is properly called a tax. Such is the case of a motor vehicle registration fees. It is patent therefrom that the legislators had in mind a regulatory tax, as the law refers to the imposition on the registration, operation, and ownership of a motor vehicle as a tax or fee. Section 591 to 593 speaks of taxes or fees for the registration or operation or on the ownership of any motor vehicle, or for the exercise of the profession of chauffeur, making the intent to impose a tax apparent. Thus, even Republic Act 5448, cited by the respondents, speak of an additional tax, where the law could have referred to an original tax and not one in addition to the tax already imposed on the registration, operation, or ownership of a motor vehicle under Republic Act 4136. Simply put, if the exaction under RA 4136 were merely a regulatory fee, the imposition in RA 5448 need not be an additional tax. Now, RA 4136 also speaks of other fees, such as the special permit fees for certain types of motor vehicles and additional fees for change of registration. These are not to be understood as taxes because such fees are very minimal to be revenue raising. Thus, they are not mentioned by Section 591 to 593 of the Code as taxes like the motor vehicle registration fee and chauffeur's license fee. Such fees are to go into the expenditures of the Land Transportation Commission. It is quite apparent that vehicle registration fees were originally simple, exceptional, indeed, only for rigidly purposes in the exercise of the state's police power. So, over the years, however, as vehicular traffic exploded in number and motor vehicles became absolute necessities without which modern life as we know it would stand still, Congress found the registration of vehicles a very convenient way of raising much needed revenues. Registration payments as fees, their nature has become that of taxes. So, in view of the foregoing, the Supreme Court ruled that motor vehicle registration fees as at present exacted pursuant to the LTO or the Land Transportation and Traffic Code are actually taxes intended for additional revenues of government, even if 1/5 or less of the amount collected is set aside for the operating expenses of the agency administering the program. So, yan yung nangyari. Now, let's go to another case, yung Heroche case. Okay, so in this case, the Heroche versus Department of Energy, GR number 159796, July 17, 2007. The facts of this case that Heroche and others sought to declare as unconstitutional Section 34 of RA 9136 or the Energy Power Industry Reform Act or the EPIRA of 2001, which imposes the universal charge as well as Rule 18 of IRR, and that the universal charge imposed be refunded. It was challenged because the universal charge was alleged to be a tax which is to be collected from all electric end users and self-generating entities. The petitioners argue that the power to tax is purely legislative and that the delegation to the Energy Regulatory Commission for the determination of such is unconstitutional, for the universal charge is to be determined, fixed, and approved by ERC. In addition, the imposition of the universal charge on all end users is oppressive and confiscatory. They contend that there is no regulatory purpose of the charges imposed therein. Now, on the other hand, respondents contend that the universal charge is levied for a specific regulatory purpose, which is to ensure the viability of the country's electric power industry. Thus, they argue that it was an exaction in the exercise of states' police power. Now, the issue in this case is that whether or not the universal charge imposed under Section 34 of APIRA is a tax. Yan yung contention nila dito. Now, the Supreme Court said no, it is an exaction under the state's police power. Sabi na Supreme Court, hindi yan tax that is under the state's police power. No? So, tingnan natin yung distinction between police power and taxation. Now, the power to tax is an incident of sovereignty and is unlimited in its range, acknowledging in its very nature no limits, so that security against its abuse is to be found only in the responsibility of the legislature which imposes the tax on the constituency that is to pay it. It is based on the principle that taxes are the lifeblood of the government, and their prompt and certain availability is an imperious need. Thus, the theory behind the exercise of the power to tax emanates from necessity, for without taxes, government cannot fulfill its mandate of promoting the general welfare and well-being of the people. Now, on the other hand, yung police power is the power of the state to promote public welfare. Ito yung na-discuss natin kanina. No? Yung police power is the power of the state to promote public welfare by restraining and regulating the use of liberty and property. It is the most pervasive, the least limitable, and the most demanding of the three fundamental powers of the state. The justification is found in the Latin maxim salus populi est suprema lex, or the welfare of the people is the supreme law, and sic utere tuo ut alinum non laedas. So use your property as not to injure the property of others. As an inherent attribute of sovereignty, which virtually extends to all public needs, police power grants a wide panoply of instruments through which the state as parens patriae gives effect to a host of the regulatory powers. Now, the Supreme Court also held that the power to regulate means the power to protect, foster, promote, preserve, and control with due regard for the interest first and foremost of the public, then of the utility and of its patrons. So, the conservative and pivotal distinction between these two powers rests in the purpose for which the charge is made. If, again, generation of revenue is the primary purpose and regulation is merely incidental, the imposition is a tax. But if regulation is the primary purpose, the fact that revenue is incidentally raised does not make the imposition a tax. Now, police power was invoked for the universal charge. In exacting the assailed universal charge through Section 34 of the APIRA, the state's police power, particularly its regulatory dimension, is invoked. Such can be deduced from Section 34, which enumerates that the purposes for which the universal charge is imposed and which can be amply discerned as regulatory in character. So it's clear that it's regulatory in character. This can be also gleaned from the Section 2 or the Declaration of Policy, where it enumerates the policy of the states towards the total electrification of the country and other matters of public interest and general welfare. From the aforementioned cited purposes, it can be gleaned that the assailed universal charge is not a tax, but an exaction in the exercise of the state's police power. Public welfare is surely promoted. Moreover, it is a well-established doctrine that the taxing power may be used as an implement of police power. And let's go to another exciting case, Chevron Philippines versus BCDA, or the Basis Conversions and Development Authority, GR number 173863, decided on September 2010. Now, the facts of the case: in June 2002, the Board of Directors of the Clark Development Corporation issued and approved policy guidelines on the movement of petroleum fuel to and from the Clark Special Economic Zone, which provided for: number 1, accreditation fee; number 2, annual inspection fee; number 3, royalty fee, which is 50 cents per liter for coastal and 1 peso per liter for outside sources; number 4, gate pass fee. Now, it was implemented in July 2002, and on October, the Clark Development Corporation sent a letter to Chevron Philippines, yan yung tinatawag nating Caltex, a domestic corporation which has been supplying fuel to Nanox Philippines, a locator in the CSEZ since 2001, yung Clark Special Economic Zone since 2001, informing it about the assessed royalty fee. A statement of account was sent to Chevron for royalty fees in the amount of 115,000 for its fuel sales for August to September 2002. Now, Chevron here, they sent a letter to the Chief Executive Officer of CDC, Mr. Angeles, protesting the assessment for royalty fees which it paid under protest, arguing that Clark Development Corporation had no authority under the law to impose such royalty fees or any fees per unit measurement of any commodity sold in the Special Economic Zone. The protest was elevated to the Basis Conversion Development Authority, or BCDA, arguing that the royalty fees has no reasonable relation to the probable expenses of regulation and that the imposition was for a revenue-generating purpose, thus a tax. The protest was denied by BCDA, which was appealed to the Office of the President, which was also dismissed. Thus, it was then elevated to the Court of Appeals, which also dismissed the appeal for lack of merit. So, talo sila lahat sa BCDA, talo na naman sila pagdating sa appeals nila, hanggang sa umabot sila sa Supreme Court. Now, what did Chevron do here is that it argues that the CDC does not have any power to impose royalty fees on sale of fuel inside the Clark Special Economic Zone on the basis of purely income generating functions, and its exclusive right to market and distribute goods inside the CSEZ. Such imposition was akin to a tax, which The CDC has no power to impose for the assessed royalty fee was not regulatory in nature, but it was a revenue-generating measure to increase its profits and further enhance its exclusive right to market and distribute fuel in the Clark Special Economic Zone. In addition, Chevron argues that the fees imposed, assuming that they are regulatory, are also unreasonable and are grossly in excess of regulation cost. Now, the issue in this case is that are the fees imposed by CDC partake the nature of taxes which it has no power to impose. Yun ang sinasabi nila na wala kayong karapatan na mag-impose nito. The Supreme Court said no. These are imposed primarily for regulatory purposes. For regulation talaga to, sabi niya. Now, let's try to distinguish tax and regulation as a form of police power. Okay, so citing the ruling in Hirochi versus Department of Energy, in distinguishing tax and regulation as a form of police power, the determining factor is the purpose of the implemented measure. Ayan, yan naman talaga yun. Ano ba yung main purpose why we have this? Again, if the purpose is primarily for raising revenue, then it will be deemed a tax. Pag increase siya, kailangan niya kasi kailangan niya ng more revenues, then it is definitely a tax, even though the measure results in some form of regulation. On the other hand, if the purpose is primarily to regulate, yung kailangan natin bawasan yung access ng mga ito doon, dyan, kailangan natin ma-regulate yung movement, ganito, then it is deemed a regulation and an exercise of the police power of the state, even though incidentally revenue is generated. It is the Supreme Court said that it hereby declared the policy of CDC to develop and maintain the Clark Special Economic Zone is a highly secured zone free from threats of any kind which could possibly endanger the lives and properties of locators, would-be investors, visitors, and employees. So the Supreme Court also declared the policy of CDC to operate and manage the Clark Special Economic Zone as a separate customs territory, ensuring free flow of movement of goods and capital within, into, and exported out of the CSEZ. So based on that definitions or discussions by the Supreme Court, it can be gleaned that the policy guidelines was issued first and foremost to ensure the safety, security, and good condition of the petroleum fuel industry within the Clark Special Economic Zone. The questioned royalty fees form part of the regulatory framework to ensure free flow of movement of petroleum fuels to and from the CSEZ. The fact that respondents have the exclusive right to distribute and market petroleum products within the CSEZ pursuant to its joint venture agreement with SBMA and CSBTI does not diminish the regulatory purpose of the royalty fee for fuel products supplied by petitioner to its client as the CSEZ. From the time GBA took effect up to the time CDC implemented its policy guidelines on the movement of petroleum fuel to and from the CSEZ, suppliers and or distributors were allowed to bring in petroleum products inside CSEZ without any charge at all. But this arrangement clearly negates CDC's mandate under the GVA as exclusive distributor of CSBTI's fuel products within CSEZ and respondents' ownership of the Subic-Clark pipeline. On this score, respondents were justified in charging royalty fees on fuel delivered by outside suppliers. So in this case, there can be no doubt that the oil industry is greatly imbued with public interest as it vitally affects the general welfare. Of course, pag nagtaas yung presyo ng mga petroleum products, lahat tayo apektado. No? So, in addition, fuel is a highly combustible product which, if left unchecked poses a serious threat to life and property. Also, the reasonable relation between the royalty fees imposed on a per liter basis and the regulation sought to be attained is that the higher the volume of fuel entering CSEZ, the greater the extent and frequency of supervision and inspection required to ensure safety, security, and order within the zone. Respondents submit that increased administrative costs were triggered by security risks that have recently emerged, such as terrorist strikes in airlines and military and or government facilities. So, as to the issue of reasonableness of the amount of the fees collected, the Supreme Court hold that no evidence was adduced by the petitioner to show that the fees imposed are unreasonable. So, then let's go back again doon sa case ni Ferrer, no? Yung Ferrer versus City Mayor Herbert Bautista. Kasi dito din, diniscuss din yun. Now, the facts of this case, in October 2001, Quezon City Council enacted the Socialized Housing Tax of Quezon City. This ordinance imposes a special assessment equivalent to 0.5% of the assessed value of the land in excess of 100,000 to be collected by the City Treasurer's Office, which is to accrue to socialized housing programs of the city government. In December 2013, it also enacted ordinances for collection of garbage fee on residential properties. So, dalawang ordinance na yung lumabas dito, ano? So, in this case, Jose Ferrer alleges that he is a registered co-owner of a residential property in Quezon City. Now, this petition was filed directly to the Supreme Court, and the petition seeks to declare as unconstitutional and illegal these two ordinances, yung socialized housing tax and yung garbage fee. Now, the issue in this case is that are both ordinances unconstitutional? Yan yung tinatanong nila. Unconstitutional ba itong dalawang ordinances na to, yung socialized housing tax at yung garbage fee? Now, na-discuss na natin to earlier, no? Di ba? Sa mga previous natin na mga vlogs na itong Ferrer versus City Mayor Herbert Bautista. Ang sabi ng Supreme Court dito, only the garbage fee is unconstitutional. Yan lang yung unconstitutional, sabi ng Supreme Court dito. Kasi yung socialized housing tax is a valid tax in the exercise of police power for a regulatory purpose. Diba? Sabi ng respondents, emphasize that the socialized housing tax is pursuant to the social justice principle under the Constitution and under RA 7279, asserting that it is not oppressive as well as it did not violate the Equal Protection Clause. Ferrer, on the other hand, claims that the socialized housing tax is tantamount to a penalty imposed on real property owner for failure of the Quezon City Mayor and Council to perform their duty to secure and protect real property owners from informal settlers, and now burdening them with expenses to provide funds for housing. Socialized housing tax is not a charity since it is forced, not voluntary. So, yung rule ng Supreme Court dito is that police power, which flows from the recognition that salus populi est suprema lex, or the welfare of the people is the supreme law, is the plenary power vested in the legislature to make statutes and ordinances to promote the health, morals, peace, education, good order, or safety and general welfare of the people. Now, property rights of individuals may be subjected to restraints and burdens in order to fulfill the objectives of the government in the exercise of police power. In this jurisdiction, it is well entrenched that taxation may be made the implement of the state's police power. So, the tax is not a pure exercise of taxing power or merely to raise revenue. It is levied with a regulatory purpose. The levy is primarily in the exercise of the police power for the general welfare of the entire city. It is greatly imbued with public interest because removing the slum areas in Quezon City is not only beneficial to the underprivileged and homeless constituents, but advantageous to the real property owners as well. No? Because the situation will improve the value of their property pag nawala yung mga squatters area, yung mga slums, no? Or mga informal settlers. So, mag-i-improve yung value ng kanang property investments. They will fully enjoy the same in view of an orderly, secure, and safe community, and it will also enhance the quality of life of the poor. Kasi nga, di ba, informal settler, gagawa sila ng pabahay ng Quezon City, and then ililipat sila doon. That will be giving them a better quality of life, making them law-abiding constituents and better consumers of business products. So, yan yung sinabi ng Supreme Court. Now, as to garbage fee is unconstitutional because it is not a tax but a fee for regulation of an activity. LGUs are statutorily sanctioned to impose and collect such reasonable fees and charges for services rendered. Charges refer to pecuniary liability as rents or fees against persons or property, while fee means a charge fixed by law or ordinance for the regulation or inspection of a business or activity. The fee imposed for garbage collections under Ordinance number 2235 is a charge fixed for the regulation of an activity. So certainly, as opposed the petitioner's opinion, the garbage fee is not a tax. Thus, it does not violate the rule on double taxation. Sabi naman ni Ferrer, he argues that there is already garbage fee under Section 47 and that the purpose is inconsistent with the mandate of RA 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act. Now, in this case, the alleged basis of Ordinance number 2235 in imposing the garbage fee is the volume of waste currently generated by such person in Quezon City, which purportedly stands at 66 kg per day, and the increasing trend of waste generation for the past 3 years, respondents did not elaborate any further. So the figure presented does not reflect the specific types of waste generated. Ano ba yung 0.66 kilogram na yan? Ano ba yan? Residential, market, commercial waste, industrial waste, construction or demolition waste, street waste, agricultural waste, agro-industrial waste, institutional waste. Ano ba yan? It is reasonable, therefore, for the court to presume that such amount pertains to the totality of waste. So, yun na ba yung kabubuang waste na yan? Hindi ba yan naka-divide into or naka-segregate into different types of waste? So, yun yung sinabi ng Supreme Court, no? Nag-presume sila that that amount of pertains to the totality of waste without any distinction generated by Quezon City constituents. To reiterate, however, the authority of a municipality or city to impose fees extends only to those related to the collection and transport of non-recyclable and recyclable or special waste. So, in this subject ordinance, the rates of the imposable fee depend on land or floor area and whether the payee is an occupant of a lot, condominium, social housing project, or apartment. So, for the purpose of garbage collection, there is, in fact, no substantial distinction between an occupant of a lot on one hand and an occupant of a unit in a condominium, socialized housing project, or apartment on the other hand. The rates being charged by the ordinance are unjust and inequitable. Kalain mo, a resident of a 200 square meter unit in a condominium or socialized housing project has to pay twice, no? Babayaran niya doble the amount than a resident of a lot similar in size. Unlike unit occupants, all occupants of a lot with an area of 200 square meter and less have to pay a fixed rate of 100 pesos. So, para bang kasalanan mo pa kung nakatira ka sa socialized housing or nasa apartment ka or nasa condominium ka. Kaya itatax ka ng doble. And the same amount of garbage fee is imposed regardless of whether the resident is from a condominium or from socialized housing project. Para bang hindi naman siguro tayo pareho ng generate na basura, di ba? Kasi usually yung mga nakatira ng condominium, hindi naman ganun ka heavy yung paggamit ng basura, lalo na pag ano ka nandyan ka lang kasi nag-work ka, and then yung tambay mo lang sa bahay, uuwi ng gabi, matutulog, uh, mahirap ka pa makapag-breakfast sa condominium, no? Kasi nga, kinaumagahan, pupunta ka naman sa work. So, yung mga ganun. So, yun yung nagkakaroon ng problema doon sa sinasabi niya. Kaya, indeed, the classifications under Ordinance Number 2235 are not germane to its declared purpose of promoting shared responsibility with the residents to attack their common mindless attitude in over-consuming the present resources and in generating waste. Instead of simplistically categorizing the pay into land or floor occupant of a lot or unit of a condominium, socialized housing project or apartment, respondent city council should have considered factors that could truly measure the amount of waste generated and the appropriate fees for its collection. So, kaya mahirap talaga. Kasi wala kang basis. Yung sinasabi lang 0.60 kilogram per day, mahirap yon. Kasi wala ka namang sinabi kung anong klaseng waste yun. Di ba? What if umuwi ka lang ng condominium mo matulog, then kinaumagahan, gigising ka, punta ka na naman sa work. No? You'll stay on Saturday and Sunday, pero andun ka nga Saturday and Sunday, pero hindi ka naman kumakain sa unit mo kasi nandun ka sa kumakain ka sa resto, sa baba, no? So, yun ang mahirap. Parang nagkaroon ng inequitable talaga yung nangyari na sa ordinance na ito. Now, let's go to another case of Planters Philippines or Planters Products versus Fertifil, GR 166006, decided on 2008. The facts of this case is that PPI or the Planters Products Industries and Fertifil have private corporations, or they are both private corporations under Philippine law, which are both engaged in the importation and distribution of fertilizers, pesticides, and agricultural chemicals. In 1985, then President Marcos, exercising legislative powers, issued Letter of Instruction 1465 for imposition of capital recovery component on the domestic sale of all grades of fertilizers in the Philippines. So, this LOI, it provides that the fertilizer pricing formula shall include a contribution component of not less than 10 pesos per bag. So, kada isang bag ng fertilizer, kailangan maglagay ng 10 pesos, no? So, this capital contribution shall be collected until adequate capital is raised to make PPI viable. So, para bang yung gobyerno ngayon, yung nagpa-fund dito sa Planters Products or PPI. Thus, pursuant to such, Fertifil paid 10 pesos per bag of fertilizer it sold in the domestic market to Fertilizers and Pesticide Authority, which the FPA remitted to Far East Bank, the depository of PPI. With the return of democracy, nung natanggal na si Marcos, FPA stopped imposing the 10 pesos and Fertifil demanded from PPI a refund of the amounts it paid, but PPI refused to accede to the demand, prompting it to file a complaint for collection and damages with the Regional Trial Court of Makati. Now, the Fertifil here argued that the LOI was unjust and solely favored PPI, which was a privately owned corporation, nga sinasabi ko kanina, di ba? Which used the proceeds to maintain its monopoly of the fertilizer industry. Para bang yung government nag-impose ng 10 peso per bag ganito sa mga industry, tapos yun yung gagamitin ngayon as fund ng PPI. The Regional Trial Court ruled in favor of Fertifil and ordered it to pay, finding that the CRC violated the principle that taxes can only be levied for public purposes. The Court of Appeals affirmed such decision. So, sabi ng Court of Appeals, yeah, we will agree to the decision of the Regional Trial Court. So, now let's go to the police power and power of taxation. The police power and the power of taxation are inherent powers of the state. Diba? Sabi natin, tatlo yan, diba? Fundamental powers ng state. Police power, taxation, at saka yung eminent domain. So, these powers are distinct and have different tests for validity. Now, as to police power, it is the power of the state to enact legislation that may interfere with personal liberty or property in order to promote the general welfare, while yung power of taxation is the power of the government of the state or of the state to levy taxes to be used for public purposes. So yun yung purpose niya. Now, the main purpose of police power is the regulation of a behavior or conduct. So, i-regulate yung behavior ng tao or yung conduct ng tao. While taxation is the revenue generation. The lawful subjects and unlawful means and the lawful means test are used to determine the validity of a law enacted under the police power. The power of taxation, on the other hand, is circumscribed by inherent and constitutional limitations. So, the issue in this case is that is the CRC an exercise of police power or taxation? Sabi ng Supreme Court, yes, it is a power of taxation. Supreme Court said that they agree with the RTC that the imposition of the levy was an exercise by the state of its taxation power. While it is true that the power of taxation can be used as an implement of police power, the primary purpose of the levy is revenue generation. If the purpose is primarily revenue, or if revenue is at least one of the real and substantial purpose, then the exaction is properly called a tax. The 10 peso levy under LOI number 1465 is too excessive to serve a mere regulatory purpose. So, hindi yan regulatory kasi ang mahal yan. Kung regulatory yan, maliit lang yan. No? Siguro hindi yan 10 peso per bag. Nasa 50 cents per bag lang yan. The levy, no doubt, was a big burden on the seller or the ultimate consumer. It increased the price of a bag of fertilizer by as much as 5%. A plain reading of the LOI also supports the conclusion that the levy was for revenue generation. The LOI expressly provided that the levy was imposed until adequate capital is raised to make PPI viable. So meaning, meron talagang purpose to generate revenue. No? So, yan yung pinaka-essence dyan. Now, let's go to the third or the second fundamental na duty ng state, which is the eminent domain. So, we have to define what is the powers of eminent domain. It is the inherent right of the state and those entities to which the power has been lawfully delegated to condemn private property to public use upon payment of what we call as just compensation. Yung just compensation is not required in the exercise of police power, but this is required in the exercise of power of eminent domain. So, pag nag-exercise ka ng police power, yung taking of the property, hindi na kailangan ng just compensation. Kaya nga, merong reason kung bakit mo kinuha yung property. If it is a nuisance, if it poses danger to health, diba? Mga ganun. Na, in eminent domain, just compensation is required. No? Okay? Kailangan talaga, no? Pag nag-exercise ka ng eminent domain, just compensation is required. In the exercise of police power, there is no taking involved. Okay? Pag nag-exercise ka ng police power, walang taking involved, but the imposition of a burden. Thus, there must be taking in order that there be proper claim for just compensation due to the exercise of the power of eminent domain. So, tandaan natin yan na pag nag-exercise ka ng police power, hindi na kailangan yung just compensation. But if you exercise the power of eminent domain, then kailangan talaga ng just compensation. So, ano yung mga requisites natin to qualify taking as an exercise of police of power of eminent domain? So, tingnan natin kung papasok pa siya sa eminent domain or papasok siya sa police power. Okay? Or taxation power ba siya? Number 1, the expropriator must enter a private property. Yan. Yan na. Papasok ka na ngayon doon sa private property. That is eminent domain. Nakalagay din yan sa ating constitution na walang private property will be taken by the government without payment of just compensation. Number 2, the entrance into the private property must be for more than a momentary period. No? Hindi yan pansamantala. That is pansamantagalan. So, long haul talaga to, no? Kasi gagamitin namin yung lupa nyo, gagawa natin ng skyway. Di ba? So, kaya kailangan kaming papasok dyan. O yung lupa nyo, gagamitin natin yan kasi magtatayo tayo ng airport kasama yung lupa mo. Yung lupa mo, nadadaanan ng railway. Kaya, kailangan naming i-take over yan. We have to invoke our right to eminent domain. No? And of course, you will be given a just compensation. The entry into the property should be under warrant or color of legal authority. Of course, meron ka talagang legal authority. Kasi nga, meron kayong big project. At hindi nakikipag-coordinate yung o nakiko-operate yung may-ari ng lupa na madadaanan ng malaking project. Number 4, property must be devoted to a public use or otherwise informally appropriated or injuriously affected. So yun nga, gagawin siyang airport, gagawin siyang skyway, gagawin siyang part ng railway project, mga ganun. And then, the utilization of the property for public use must be in such a way as to oust the owner and deprive him of all beneficial enjoyment of the property. Kasi nga, paano pag hindi ka pwede magbahay dyan kasi may airport na dyan eh, di ba? Hindi ka pwede magbahay dyan kasi tatayuan nga yan ng skyway. Hindi ka pwede maglagay ng bahay dyan kasi nga yung, yung lupa mo, dyan dadaan yung tren. So, magiging home along the rails ka dyan. Now, there is an additional requirement for the local government units. No? Yung 5 na yan, that's for the national government. And if it will be LGU who will be exercising the power of eminent domain, merong additional requirement. There must be a previous offer that must be made by the local government unit to which the property owner has rejected. Ito na nga, di ba? Meron tayong offer to buy na ibibigay. Ma'am, yung lupa nyo, nadaanan dito na madadaanan siya because we have a Mindanao Railway Project. Ganyan. Meron tayong project na railway dito. Madadaanan yung lupa nyo. So here comes the government, sabi ng DOTR, magpapadala tayo ng independent appraiser. Appraiser comes, appraiser appraised, nagkaroon ng survey, and then lumabas yung pera, yung amount, no? Kung magkano yung total na babayaran ng government doon sa lupa mo na tatamaan ng project. Ito yung based ng private third-party appraiser. So, sabihin natin, yung 100 square meter mo na lupa, na-appraise ngayon ng private appraiser ng 3 million. So, in-offer sa'yo ngayon, a government has an offer to buy your property for 3 million kasama yung bahay na nakatayo doon. Sabi mo, kasi alam mo magiging railway siya, hindi ko to bebenta kasi nga pag naging railway to, dadaan yung tren, pwede ako magbenta ng mga tubig dito. No? Itlog, mga ganon. So, anong gagawin nga ng government that pag nagkaroon ng rejection doon sa offer to buy, pag nagkaroon ng rejection sa offer to buy, the government will come to court and then magde-deposit siya based doon sa amount ng sinasabi natin na appraisal sa 3 million. Magde-deposit ngayon si government ng 3 million. But the sad part dito sa part ng landowner kasi if pumasok na sa korte, the moment that the court accepted the deposit, pwede nang pumasok ngayon yung government. The government now can come in by virtue of exercising its power of eminent domain. Ang worst pa, sinira na yung bahay mo, tinake over na ng government, so hindi mo kinuha yung 3 million kasi gusto mo ng 5 million, pero later on, napagtanto ng korte na malaki pala yung amount na ibabayad sa'yo. This is excessive. So from 3 million, bibigyan ka lang dapat ng 1.5 million. So, sino ngayon ang kawawa? Diba? So, that happens. No? Now, let's look at the difference between taxation power and eminent domain as to who could exercise it. Who could exercise? Taxation power, it could be exercised by the legislative department and in certain cases by the president or the local government units. Kasi meron yung ministerial power ng president, no? Didelegate ng Congress yung sa VAT, yung value added tax na magkakaroon ng plus 2%. As to the LGUs naman, of course, it's very clear in the Local Government Code of 1991. As to eminent domain, Eminent domain may be exercised by private entities. Even private entities can exercise eminent domain. Pero yung private property, hindi pwedeng mag-exercise ng taxation power. As to the property taken, taxation power, it is money that is taken. Pera yung kinukuha mo kasi nga, di ba? Maglilivay ka ng tax, magbayad ka ng tax kasi magagawa kami ng hospital, magkakaroon tayo ng ganito, ganyan, ganyan. So, ayuda dito, ayuda doon. Eminent domain naman, property, yeah, usually lupa kasi nga eminent domain, di ba? The state own all of the land, no? Yung Regalian doctrine. Now, as to the intervention, taxation power, court intervention is not required. Of course, kasi gagawa ka ng batas lang dyan eh. Hindi na kailangan ng korte. Not unless it is excessive and unconstitutional. While in the eminent domain, court intervention is usually required for the exercise of eminent domain. Kasi nga, di ba pupunta ka ng korte, yung government will come to court and then file a case for expropriation. No? I-expropriate mo yung lupa. And then yung government naman, upon filing of expropriation charges to the landowner, magde-deposit sila ng pera based doon sa appraised value. So yan yung mangyayari. Now, the succeeding cases on eminent domain will touch on the matters of tax deduction and tax credit. Thus, it may be useful to understand their meanings and differences. Ano yung kaibahan ng tax deduction at saka tax credit? Kasi ako din nahihirapan sa dalawang ito eh. Kasi parang ang liit lang. There's a thin line that divides the two. Tax deduction at saka tax credit. Now, in the case of CIR versus Central Luzon Drug Corporation, GR 159657, April 2005. In this case, Justice Panganiban said that the 20% discount required by law to be given to senior citizens is a tax credit. Sabi ni Justice Panganiban, that is a tax credit. Not merely a tax deduction. Hindi na siya merely tax deduction, but it's a tax credit from the gross income or gross sale. Galing sa gross income or gross sale ng establishment. A tax credit is used by a private establishment only after the tax has been computed. So yung tax credit, magagamit lang yan ng private establishment pag na-compute na yung tax niya. Okay? While yung tax deduction naman, before ma-compute yung tax. So again, tax credit is after the tax has been computed, while yung tax deduction before yung tax ma-compute. Republic Act 7432 unconditionally grants a tax credit to all covered entities. So tax credit ang binigay. So meaning after the computation of tax. Thus, the provisions of the revenue regulation that withdraw or modify such grant are void. Basic is the rule that administrative regulations cannot amend or revoke the law. Kasi nga, yung sa Republic Act 7432, ang sabi, tax credit talaga. No? Pero yung sa revenue regulation, sinabi, tax deduction. So, let's go to the facts of this case. Central Luzon Drug Corporation is engaged in retail of medicines and other pharmaceutical products. They are known as the Mercury Drug, na kasi siguro na gamot ay laging bago. From January to December 1996, it granted 20% sales discount to qualified senior citizens on the medicine purchase pursuant to Republic Act 7432, and it amounted to 904,769. In 1997, it filed its annual income tax return for taxable year 1996, declaring that it incurred net losses from its operations. So, nalugi daw sila, no? Sabi ng Mercury Drug. In 1998, it filed with the CIR a claim for tax refund or tax credit in amount of 904,769, arising from the 20% sales discount granted by it to qualified senior citizens. Unable to obtain affirmative response from CIR, then Mercury Drug went to the Court of Tax Appeal and to the Court of Appeals, which ordered CIR to issue a tax credit certificate in favor of Central Luzon or Mercury Drug. but in the reduced amount of 903,038. The Court of Appeals ruled that the credit is not an unintended benefit but rather a just compensation for taking of private property for public use. Sabi niya, it is a just compensation. Yan sabi ng Court of Appeals, ha. Yung nangyari dito is a just compensation because there is a taking of private property for public use. So, CIR argues that the Court of Appeals erred in holding that Mercury Drug may claim that 20% sales discount it gave as a tax credit rather than as a tax deduction. So, sabi ng CIR na yung CA, mali ka dyan. Yung Central Luzon o yung Mercury Drug may claim that 20% sales discount it gave as a tax credit. Dapat tax credit yan rather than a tax discount. So, dapat after ma-compute yung tax, no, dyan lang gagamitin ni Central Luzon. Section 4A of Republic Act 7432, it grants to senior citizens the privilege of obtaining a 20% discount on their purchase of medicine in any private establishment in the country. The private establishment may then claim the cost of the discount as a tax credit. Now, the issue of this case is that is Central Luzon entitled to tax credit or tax discount ba talaga? Or tax deduction ba talaga? Sabi ng batas, di ba? A tax credit. So, kailangan, before mat-compute yung tax, doon gagamitin ito ng company. So, sabi ng Supreme Court, yes, Central Luzon is entitled to the tax credit. Looking at the tax credit versus tax deduction, balikan natin. Yung tax credit generally refers to an amount that is subtracted directly from one's total tax liability. It is an allowance against the tax itself or a deduction from what is owed by a taxpayer to the government. So it is subtracted directly from one's total tax liability. While yung tax deduction is defined as a subtraction from income for tax purpose or an amount that is allowed by law to reduce income prior to the applicable of the tax rate to compute the amount of tax which is due. Kaya nga, di ba, sabi natin yung tax credit, pag compute mo, na-compute na yung taxable mo, income, doon papasok si tax credit. While yung tax deduction, habang wala pa, hindi pa na-compute, before mo i-compute yung total taxable income mo, isa-subtract mo na yung tax deduction. Okay? So, yun yung kaibahan ng dalawa. So, a tax credit differs from a tax deduction. On the one hand, a tax credit reduces the tax due. Because after mo lumabas yung tax due mo, i-subtract mo pa yung tax credit. No? That's why it reduces the tax due, including whenever applicable, the income tax that is determined after applying the corresponding tax rates to taxable income. While yung tax deduction reduces the income that is subject to tax in order to arrive at taxable income. So, di ba? All income, reduce mo yung tax deduction, ito yung income na taxable. Yung tax credit naman, na-compute na lahat ng income, ililess mo ngayon yung tax credit. Yan. Babawas yung babayaran. Sa tax credit, mababawasan yung babayaran mong tax. While sa tax deduction naman, mababawasan yung taxable income mo. So, yan yung kaibahan ng dalawa. So, a tax credit is used only after the tax has been computed, while a tax deduction before the tax is computed. So, I hope it is clear. Tax credit, bababa yung babayaran mong tax. Tax deduction, bababa yung taxable income mo. Now, tax liability required for tax credit. Since a tax credit is used to reduce directly the tax that is due, there ought to be a tax liability before the tax credit can be applied. Of course, kailangan magkaroon ka muna ng payable para ka magkaroon ng tax credit. Without that liability, any tax credit application will be useless. Saan ka pa magpapa-tax credit? Wala ka naman palang liability sa government. No? There will be no reason for deducting the latter when there is, to begin with, no existing obligation to government. Paano ka magpapadiscount wala ka naman palang babayaran? Saan ibabawas yung discount mo? Yan yung mangyayari dyan. However, the existence of a tax credit or its grant by law is not the same as the availment of use of such credit. While the grant is mandatory, the availment or use is not. If a net loss is reported, like in the case here, by and no other taxes are currently due from a business establishment, there will obviously be no tax liability, of course, against which any tax credit can be applied. So, saan mo i-apply yung tax credit ng Mercury Drug? Lugi nga sila. For the establishment to choose the immediate availment of a tax credit will be premature and impracticable. Yeah. Hihingin mo ngayon tax credit, wala ka naman palang binabayaran. Ano? Magpaparipan ka sa government? Yung government ang aabuno? Hindi. Mali yan. Nevertheless, the irrefutable fact remains that under RA 7432, Congress has granted without conditions a tax credit benefit to all covered establishments. Although this tax credit benefit is available, it need not be used by losing ventures since there is no tax liability. Paano nga, di ba? That calls for its application. Neither can it be reduced to nil or zero by the quick yet callow stroke of an administrative pen, simply because no reduction of taxes can instantly be affected. So, ito na nga yung sinasabi ko. Paano ka makakahingi ng tax credit? Wala ka namang babayaran. Di ba? Wala kang obligasyon sa government. Saan mo kukunin? Saan mo ibabawas yung tax credit mo? Okay? So, by its nature, tax credit may still be deducted from a future. Okay? Not a present tax liability. So, pwede mo naman gamitin sa susunod. Hindi ngayon. Maghihingi ka ng tax credit, negative nga yung income mo, di ba? Naglag-loss ka. Tapos magpapakredit ka sa government. Paano yan? Di ba? So, by its nature, the tax credit may still be deducted from a future, not a present tax liability, without which it does not have any use. In the meantime, it need not move, but it breathes. Now, tax credit benefit is deemed as a just compensation. Section 2I and 4 of Revenue Regulation number 2-94 deny the exercise by the state of its power of eminent domain, be it stressed that the privilege enjoyed by senior citizens does not come directly from the state, but rather from the private establishments concerned. Accordingly, the tax credit benefit granted to these establishments can be deemed as their just compensation for private property taken by the state for public use. Ano yung kinuha ng state dito? Yung 20%, no? Laki din ng 20% na yan. So, the discount privilege to which our senior citizens are entitled is actually a benefit enjoyed by the general public, to which these citizens belong. The discounts given would have entered the coffers and formed part of the gross sales of the private establishment concerned, were it not for Republic Act 7432. The permanent reduction in their total revenue is a forced subsidy corresponding to the taking of private property for public use or benefit. So as a result, the 20% discount imposed by RA 7432, respondent becomes entitled to a just compensation. This term refers not only to the issuance of a tax credit certificate indicating the correct amount of the discounts given, but also to the promptness in its release. Diba? So, clear naman yan. So, equivalent to the payment of property taken by the state, such issuance, when not done within a reasonable time from the grant of discounts, cannot be considered as just compensation. So, in effect, respondent is made to suffer the consequences of being immediately deprived of its revenues while awaiting actual receipt through the certificates of the equivalent amount it needs to come up to cope with the reduction of its revenue. So, besides the yung taxation power can also be used as an implement for the exercise of the power of eminent domain. Kasi yung tax measures are but enforced contributions exacted on pain of penal sanctions and clearly imposed for a public purpose. In the past few years, no, the power to tax has indeed become a most effective tool to realize social justice, public welfare, and the equitable distribution of wealth. So, to put it differently, a private establishment that merely breaks even without the discounts yet will surely start to incur losses because of such discounts. So, the same effect is expected if its markup is less than 20%, no? And if all its sales come from retail purchases by senior citizens. So, mahirap din pag ganyan ang nangyari. So, it will also be grossly unfair to an establishment if the discounts will be treated merely as deductions from either its gross income or its gross sales. Kasi pag deduction lang, yung income mo lang ang makukunan, di ba? So, it's unfair. Kaya tama lang talaga na tax credit siya. After ma-compute yung taxable income mo, doon siya iba bawas. So, operating at a loss through no fault of its own, it will realize that the tax credit limitation under Revenue Regulation 2-94 is inutile, if not improper. Worse, profit-generating businesses will be put in a better position if they avail themselves of tax credits denied those that are losing because no taxes are due from the latter. Of course, di ba? Kaya ba't mo gustuhin mo na na mag mag-tax deduction ka, dapat naman talaga you will be on the what we call as tax credit dapat ang makukuha mo. Hindi hindi pwede na hindi pwede na tax deduction. So kailangan natin tax credit. Kasi yan yung dapat na matanggap ng isang business establishment. So another case the same as this is yung kay Carlos Superdrug versus Velasco. Sa case na to, sinabi ng korte that the amendment to the Senior Citizens Law changing the benefit from tax credit to a tax deduction was not deemed unconstitutional. So, yung expanded, no? Yung expanded Senior Citizens Act yata yun. So, ang nangyari, sa dati kasi tax credit siya, yung 20%. Pero, in-amend ngayon ng Congress yung batas sa Expanded Senior Citizens Act, ang nangyari, yung tax credit dati is naging tax deduction na sa bagong batas. So, the court said here, in the case of Carlos Superdrug versus Velasco, the tax deduction is not just compensation. Hindi daw just compensation yung tax deduction. But later, the court did not strike down the law as unconstitutional because, number one, the calculation presented by the petitioners were on transactional basis and not based on gross income. And number two, police power was also used as a basis for the general welfare for the petitioners to have to take into account that in operating business, there is competition and there is the state. So, puntahan na natin tong Carlos Superdrug na case nito versus Velasco. GR 166494, June 29, 2007. So the facts here is that RA 9257, it amended yung RA 7432, which states that privileges for the senior citizens shall be entitled to the following. A, the grant of 20% discount from all establishments relative to the utilization of services in hotels and similar lodging establishments, restaurants and recreation centers, and purchase of medicines in all establishments for the exclusive use or enjoyment of senior citizens, including funeral and burial services for the death of senior citizens. So, the establishment may claim the discounts granted under paragraph A, F, G, and H as tax deduction based on the net cost of the goods sold or services rendered. So, the petitioners here argues that Section 4A is unconstitutional as it constitutes deprivation of private property, compelling drugstore owners and establishments to grant the discounts will result in a loss of profit and capital because the drugstores only marks up from 5% to 10% and the law failed to provide a scheme whereby drugstores will be justly compensated for the discount. Examining petitioners' arguments, it is apparent that what petitioners are questioning is validity of tax deduction scheme as a reimbursement mechanism for the 20% discount that they extend to senior citizens. So, the issue here is that is the provision unconstitutional? Sabi ng Supreme Court, no, it is not unconstitutional. So, sabi ng Supreme Court, no. Based on the opinion, the tax deduction scheme does not fully reimburse petitioners for the discount privilege accorded to senior citizens. This is because the discount is treated as a deduction, a tax-deductible expense that is subtracted from the gross income and results in a lower taxable income. Sabi niya, sa gross income naman yan kukunin. So, pag i-deduct natin sa gross, bababa yung inyong taxable income. Sabi niya. So, it is an amount that is allowed by law to reduce the income prior to the application of the tax rate to compute the amount of tax which is due. Being a tax deduction, the discount does not reduce taxes owed on a peso per peso basis but merely offers a fractional reduction in taxes owed. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng bumibili din sa drugstore mga senior citizens, di ba? Konti lang din naman sila. So theoretically, the treatment of the discount as a deduction reduces the net income of the private establishments concerned. The discounts given would have entered the coffers and formed part of the gross sales of the private establishments, were it not for RA number 9257. So, the permanent deduction or the permanent reduction in their total revenues is a forced subsidy corresponding to the taking of private property for public use or benefit. This constitutes compensable taking for which petitioners would ordinarily become entitled to a just compensation. So when we say just compensation, it is defined as the full and fair equivalent of the property taken from its owner by the expropriator. So the measure is not the taker's gain, but the owner's loss. The word just is used to intensify meaning of the word compensation and to convey the idea that the equivalent to be rendered for the property to be taken shall be real, substantial, full, and ample. So a tax deduction does not offer full reimbursement of the senior citizen discount. As such, it would not meet the definition of just compensation. Diba? So having said that, this raises the question of whether the state, in promoting the health and welfare of a special group of citizens, can impose upon private establishment the burden of partly subsidizing a government program. Sabi ng korte, yes na yes. The Senior Citizens Act was enacted primarily to maximize the contribution of senior citizens to nation building and to grant benefits and privileges to them for their improvement and well-being as the state considers them an integral part of our society. So, that's why to implement the above policy, yung sa Expanded Senior Citizens Act, the law grants 20% discount to senior citizens. As a form of reimbursement, the law provides that business establishments extending the 20% discount to senior citizens may claim the discount as a tax deduction. So therefore, the exercise of police power, the incorrect calculations. The law is legitimate exercise of police power which, similar to the power of eminent domain, has general welfare for its object. Police power is not capable of an exact definition but has been purposely veiled in general terms to underscore its comprehensiveness to meet all exigencies and provide enough room for an efficient and flexible response to conditions and circumstances, thus assuring the greatest benefits. So, yan yung sabi niya. So, accordingly, it has been described as the most essential, insistent, and the least limitable of powers, extending as it goes all the great public needs. So, the power vested in the legislature by the Constitution to make ordain and establish all manner of wholesome and reasonable laws, statutes, and ordinances, either with penalties or without, not repugnant to the Constitution, as they shall judge to be for the good and welfare of the Commonwealth and of the subjects of the same. It is incorrect for petitioners to insist that the grant of the senior citizen discount is unduly oppressive for their business, because petitioners have not taken time to calculate correctly and come up with a financial report, so that they have not been able to show properly whether or not the tax deduction scheme really works greatly to their disadvantage. So, yun yung nangyari dyan. Mali yung manner of computation nila. Kasi, ginawa nila peso per peso o kada transaction. Hindi naman pwede transactional basis yan. Doon mo kukunin yan doon sa gross mo. No? Doon sa gross sales mo. Hindi pwede na transaction by transaction. So, ang ginawa kasi dito ng petitioner, no, they tried to show a loss on a per transaction basis, which should not be the case. Kasi sabi nila, yung markup nga namin 5 pesos to 10, 5% to 10% lang. Pero, yung discount na binibigay natin sa senior citizens is umaabot ng 20%. So, lugi na kami ng 10% doon. Yun yung ginawa nila. So, pero, sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi dapat per transaction basis yung computation. Kundi doon kukunin sa gross income or gross sales. So, an income statement showing an accounting of petitioner's sales, expenses, and net profit or loss for a given period could have accurately reflected the effect of the discount on their income. Absent any financial statement, petitioners can substantiate their claim that they will be operating at a loss should they give the discount. So, in addition, the computation was erroneously based on the assumption that their customers consisted wholly of senior citizens. Kaya sabi ko, hindi naman lahat ng bumibili sa mga drugstores or pharmacies or butika ay mga senior citizens. So, the court is not oblivious of the retail side of the pharmaceutical industry and the competitive pricing component of the business. So, while the Constitution protects property rights, petitioners must accept the realities of business and the state. In the exercise of police power, can intervene in the operations of a business, which may result in an impairment of property rights in the process. So, undeniably, the success of the senior citizens program rests largely on the support imparted by petitioners and the other private establishments concerned. So, this being the case, the means employed in invoking the above or the active participation of the private sector in order to achieve the purpose or objective of the law is reasonably and directly related. So, how do we classify now the nature and effect of the senior citizens discount? So, in the case of CIR versus Central Luzon, that was in 1995, the tax credits were considered as proper just compensation for private establishments shouldering the 20% discount of senior citizens as to medicine. So, the former tax credit under the Senior Citizens Act is now a tax deduction under the expanded Senior Citizens Act. Kaya, doon sa Central Luzon drug, yung decision doon is tax credit. Kasi nga, hindi pa yun yung bagong batas. Yan yung sinasabi ng batas dati. Pero, in the case ngayon dito sa Carlos Super Drug, naging tax deduction na. Kasi, meron ng expanded Senior Citizens Act. So, yan yung nangyari dyan. Okay, so, in the case of Carlos Super Drug, the court ruled that the new tax deduction scheme, unlike the tax credit scheme under the old Senior Citizens Act, no longer satisfies requirement of just compensation. But the law was not declared unconstitutional and was even justified under police power, because in police power, just compensation is not required. So, yung sa Luzon, yung Central Luzon drug, just compensation pa yun. Pero, when it comes ngayon sa expanded Senior Citizen Act, ginawang tax deduction, hindi na siya just compensation because it is already in the exercise of the police power of the state. Okay? So, yan yung nangyari. No? So, to clarify as to what nature of the senior citizens discount now as being considered a tax deduction for the private establishment, the case of the Manila Memorial versus DSWD attempts to clarify that as to its nature and effect, 20% discount is a regulation affecting the ability of private establishments to price their products and services relative to senior citizens for which the Constitution affords a preferential concern. So, in turn, this affects the amount of profits or income or gross sales that a private establishment can derive from senior citizens. In other words, the subject regulation affect the pricing and hence the profitability of the private establishment. But it does not purport to appropriate nor burden specific properties used in the operation or conduct of the business, but merely regulates the pricing of goods and services relative to and the amount of profits or income or gross sales the private establishment may gain from senior citizens. So, sa senior citizen lang naman sila merong ganun. Pero pag hindi sa senior citizen, wala din ganun, no? So, the nature and effects of the 20% senior citizens discount is an exercise of police power and not of eminent domain. So, kaya, hindi na kailangan ng just compensation. Okay? So, yan yung nangyari doon sa cases na yun. So, I hope sana may natutunan kayo sa part 3 na ito. And soon, we will be uploading again part 4 ng discussions natin dito sa Basic Taxation Law. So again, kung hindi pa kayo nakasubscribe, please subscribe na sa ating YouTube channel and follow na rin sa ating Facebook page, Working Law Student page. Yun lang po. Thank you for watching. God bless us all and may the odds be in our favor in our law school journey. So, bye-bye.